Welcome back. Namibia will join the rest of the world in commemorating World NGO Day, a global initiative dedicated to recognizing and celebrating the invaluable contributions of non-governmental organizations in tackling societal challenges, advancing human rights and driving sustainable development. From providing essential services to advocating for policy change, our NGOs play a critical role in shaping communities and fostering progress. However, despite their impact, many organizations face systematic challenges that hinder their ability to create long-term sustainable change. To help us unpack these issues and also talk to us about NGO Day and Week, we're now joined by the Director of Namibia Development Trust, Mr. Ronny Dempers. So good evening and welcome.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
As I mentioned in my introduction, non-governmental organizations, they do play a vital role in development, yet many struggle to create long-term impact. So perhaps as a starting point, you can talk to us about what you see as the biggest systematic barriers that hold Namibian NGOs back.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it is true that NGOs are faced with a number of challenges, and that is not peculiar. Any other organization are faced with those challenges. There are also NGOs that have been able to weave through those challenges and have been able to sustain themselves. And there are some useful lessons that one can learn from that. But coming to the systematic challenges that are faced with NGOs, there can be variety of them, but key ones would be the enabling environment. Yeah. So there are some external factors. That could be some internal factors that could deal with the funding possibilities. To what extent NGOs have got funding to be able to continue their work. But it's also internal factors. It's about the leadership. They say and believe that everything falls and rises on leadership. So what kind of an organizational leadership is there? And when I talk about leadership, I'm not just talking about an individual that is there, right, but I'm talking about a leadership team that carries that organization. What type of systems are there? And many NGOs lack some of those factors. So unless you are able to demonstrate that you have got strong systems to be able to manage the organization, to be able to sustain it, to be able to demonstrate its performance and its impact, unless you have got the necessary accountability mechanisms to be able to demonstrate that you can be trusted with resources, you can account for them, you can show a level of transparency. So there are those variety of factors that can contribute to an organizational rise or to an organizational downfall.
Yes.
And we have also seen, as I said, number of NGOs that have been able to sustain themselves, and I think there is some good lessons that one can learn from NGOs. Before independence, some NGOs existed in Namibia, and even after independence, they continue to exist, of course, at the different levels of functionality. Yes.
You mentioned, of course, that there's reliance on funding, external funding, and that is true, and which can sometimes be unpredictable as an NGO. So how can local NGOs work toward financial independence and resilience against global economic fluctuations?
I think countries need to realize, and governments need to realize, that NGOs are part of the social makeup of a given country. Therefore, the enabling environment needs to be there and conducive enough for NGOs to be able to locally mobilize resources to be able to sustain themselves. And I think even in Namibia, that would be one of the challenges. There is a constant need to be able to improve the enabling environment that can enable NGOs to be able to tap into different streams of incomes. For example, we need to look at tax incentives, for example. How can we, through tax incentives, strengthen the philanthropic culture where people can give, because people generally believe in good causes and they can support the good work that NGOs do. These lately I've seen some innovation that has been started by Ministry of Health and Social Services through social contracting. That is where NGOs have been contracted by a government agency to be able to deliver services, because we believe NGOs bring innovation. In other words, in terms of implementation capacity, NGOs have got something to offer.
Yes.
And maybe government is struggling in an area. And there I see a good partnership that can exist between government and NGOs to be able to work together, to be able to improve services that needs to be provided. In that way, I believe partnership is strengthened between government and NGOs. And also self-service delivery is improved because we are making use of the different set of skills. As I said, we believe we in NGOs, we can make quick decisions, we can be flexible, we can be more innovative, and I think we can pilot things and demonstrate that things can work better, and we can improve. A number of NGOs have, at a small scale, demonstrated good examples. Some of them are like cases like the basic income grant.
Yes.
Income inequality is one of the challenges, but the basic income grant coalition has piloted at Omitara an innovative way of how the poverty challenge can be solved. And we have now told government to say, from lessons learned, this seems to be a good example that can be scaled up. Government has sort of reformed that now and is rolling out a $600 income for selected group of people. Again, we are not yet where we are, but I think it is going in the right direction. And we'll continue to advocate for basic income grant, basic universal income grant. The other example is Sect Dwellers Federation. I love to talk about that model because housing is one of the bigger challenges of that.
Yes.
But that small NGO through Sect Dwellers Federation has demonstrated how local people, through their savings, can access land and be able to build their houses.
Yes.
And they have demonstrated even, outperforming some of the government agencies in terms of housing delivery. So those kind of examples for me demonstrate that there is something that NGOs offer.
On the note of these successful examples that you've spoken about, and you also mentioned that there's obviously lessons that can be learned. If we look at the regional sort of landscape and experiences when it comes to NGOs, are there any key lessons that Namibia can learn from neighboring countries regarding NGO maybe regulations, legal frameworks, etc.?
I think in terms of legal framework, I can say that Namibia is one of the best examples in terms of the enabling environment for NGOs. We have one of the best constitutions in Southern Africa. And if one looks at the region in Africa and globally, civic spaces are shrinking. Namibia is one of the last hopes where freedom of association, where people can still organize themselves freely and be able to operate freely. In terms of media freedom, as we know, Namibia is one of the leading countries there. So I think in terms of what lessons we can learn, I think we need to guard the civil liberties that we have got in this country. We need to ensure that nothing needs to be done to be able to allow our civic spaces to shrink. And we should look at all mechanisms available and possible to rather improve on the civic space that we have got. So I think from where we are now, I think we have got much lessons to offer to other countries. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, of course, speaking on NGO day and week and the program lineup, etc., everything that you've got planned, we do know that the actual day was supposed to be celebrated on the 22nd of February, but due to the country being in mourning at the time, it will now be commemorated on the 27th of March. So talk to us about how this day will be commemorated and what initiatives will be part of it.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think that's very important because it's one of the ways through which we want to profile the sector, to show that what the sector contributes in terms of national development. On 20th of March, as we know, we are approaching our independence celebration, so we'll have a media event, and this media event is meant to just announce what we are planning and explain to the media in terms of the roles and functions of the different NGOs. Basically, umbrella organizations are invited to this activity that will be happening on the 20th of March, which is tomorrow, to be able to showcase their work and also to outline what the week holds. 27th of March is the main event. There It's to celebrate the NGO Day, as we said. It's to recognize the work that NGOs do. It's to celebrate. It's to boost the morale of the NGO workers that are sometimes going through very, very, very difficult ways. But we're also reflecting on some critical topics. We'll be reflecting about well-being in Namibia. We'll be reflecting about, are Namibians getting well off? I mean, are the living conditions of Namibians improving?
Right.
We are going to reflect on the state of governance in the country. How are we doing? What are the things that we can be proud of in terms of the governance? What is the role of civil society in terms of improving the governance system in the country? We'll talk about Namibia's green energy journey. There is a lot of things happening around that sector, so we'll be reflecting around what is the role for civil society in that space. So apart from celebrating, we have also lined up, we'll also be reflecting on the enabling environment that is currently in Namibia. How do civil society organizations feel about it? What can be done to improve? What role for government? What role for civil society?
Thank you.
Another important aspect is, as you know, Namibia is finalizing its National Development Plan 6. We will be reflecting about what contributions NGOs can make. We have seen that a chapter has been built in now in NDP 6. So what should be contained in that kind of a chapter to be able to improve the enabling environment for civil society in Namibia? So we have got quite great lineup for NGOs. So whenever you hear that, and if you have not yet signed up for any of these activities, important is on the 29th, which is a Saturday, we have got a fun walk, wellness day for NGO workers. So please sign up and be part of this. We need healthy workers that will continue to champion the causes that we are standing for.
Mr. Dempers, we appreciate your time and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
When we come back after this brief break, we have some more conversation lined up. Do stay with us.